Hello, today we are talking about the art and architecture of the Roman Empire. The second item of our topic is the development of Roman sculpture and the works of Roman sculptors. The art of Roman sculpture was influenced by the art of ancient Greek sculpture. But the Roman sculptors, unlike the Greek style, adopted a more realistic style in human figures. Roman sculptors began to emphasize the details of the human body even more. In the Roman Empire, the art of sculpture was used in many different fields. In particular, sculptures of gods and goddesses featured in ancient mythology were quite popular. The history and military victories of the Roman Empire also became an important subject of sculpture art. Thus, busts of emperors and military leaders, reliefs of battle scenes, and triumphal arches were made. Many of the Roman sculptors were anonymous, but some of them were especially famous. Italian Renaissance sculptors such as Bernini and Michelangelo are among the sources of inspiration for Roman sculptors. December. Many sculptures made in ancient Rome have not survived to the present day, but some of them still exist. For example, well-known ancient Roman statues such as the Capitoline Venus and the Apollo Belvedere have been preserved to this day. As a result, the art of Roman sculpture developed under the influence of the Greek style and adopted a more realistic style in human figures. Mythological and historical sculptures became popular, busts of emperors and military leaders, reliefs of battle scenes and triumphal arches were made. Besides anonymous sculptors, there are also famous sculptors. Some ancient Roman sculptures have survived to this day and are still admired. We are talking about the art and architecture of the Roman Empire. The third item of our topic is the art of Roman painting, and especially Roman frescoes, mosaics, wall paintings, portraits, and landscape paintings. In the Roman Empire, the art of painting, like other branches of art, was very popular. Roman art included different genres, such as frescoes, mosaics, murals, portraits, and landscape paintings. Roman frescoes were quite common, especially in ancient cities such as Pompeii and Herculaneum. The frescoes were painted on the walls and were usually about mythological and historical scenes. It was also used for interior decoration of houses. In the frescoes, human figures and landscape details were depicted quite realistically. Mosaics were also very popular in the Roman Empire. Mosaics were formed by combining pieces of stone, glass, or ceramics deconstructed into small pieces. Mosaics were often used on floors and walls and treated different subjects such as mythological scenes, animal figures, and geometric patterns. Portrait paintings were also very popular in the Roman Empire. Portraits used to depict the faces of emperors and other important figures. Roman portraits were made in a realistic style, and the expressions and details of the figures were highly emphasized. Roman landscape paintings were also an important branch of art. Landscape paintings often showed the streets, gardens, and temples of Pompeii and other ancient cities. Roman landscape paintings were made in a realistic style, and the details were highly emphasized. As a result, the art of painting was quite widespread in the Roman Empire. Roman frescoes included different genres, such as mosaics, murals, portraits, and landscape paintings. Mythological and historical scenes were often used in frescoes and mosaics, while the faces of emperors and other important figures were depicted in portraits. We are talking about the art and architecture of the Roman Empire. The fourth article of our topic is the architecture of the Roman Empire and especially its architectural styles, building materials, architectural innovations, functions of structures, and construction techniques. The Roman Empire was one of the greatest empires in history, and the architectural styles of this empire were also quite impressive. The architectural styles of the Roman Empire emerged from the influence of ancient Greek architecture. In the Roman Empire, building materials were usually built using stone and brick. Roman architecture used innovative techniques to build large structures. These include techniques such as vaulted arches, dome deconstruction, and the use of roof beams. The functions of the structures built in the Roman Empire were also quite diverse. These include deconstructions such as temples, forums, theaters, stadiums, baths, villas, palaces, and monumental tombs. Architectural innovations were also very important in the Roman Empire. In particular, techniques such as vaulted arches and dome construction made a great contribution to Roman architecture. These innovations have allowed the construction of large and impressive structures. The construction techniques of buildings were also highly developed in the Roman Empire. The construction works were carried out by Roman engineers and workers. These workers have built incredible structures using vaulted arches, domes, and other innovative building techniques during construction. As a result, the architecture of the Roman Empire had a very impressive and innovative structure. Roman architecture developed under the influence of ancient Greek architecture and was built using building materials such as stone and brick. Roman architecture was used to build large structures with vaulted arches, dome construction, and other innovative techniques. We are talking about the art and architecture of the Roman Empire. The fifth article of our topic is amphitheaters, theaters, and circuses in the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire was a period in history when it was home to the most famous amphitheaters, theaters, and circuses. These structures are considered one of the most important structures of Rome and are the cultural heritage of the Roman Empire. Amphitheaters, theaters, and circuses were built for gladiatorial games, animal hunts, and other shows. These structures were usually built using neatly hewn blocks of stone. Roman architecture used innovative techniques in the construction of amphitheaters, theaters, and circuses. In particular, the placement of stone blocks on top of each other and locking them together allowed for the construction of durable and robust structures. Amphitheaters, theaters, and circuses were the center of social life in the Roman Empire. These deconstructions brought people together and enabled different cultures and communities to interact with each other. Amphitheaters, theaters, and circuses were also used to showcase the military might of the Roman Empire. Gladiator games are organized to improve the fighting abilities of soldiers. As a result, amphitheaters, theaters, and circuses are considered one of the most important structures of the Roman Empire. These structures were built for gladiatorial games, animal hunts, and other shows, and were the center of the social life of the Roman Empire. Amphitheaters, theaters, and circuses were also used to showcase the military might of the Roman Empire. Roman architecture used innovative techniques in the construction of these structures and built durable and robust structures. We are talking about the art and architecture of the Roman Empire. The sixth article of our topic is the bridges, waterways, aqueducts, water canals, and water tanks built by the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire had an incredible success with waterways and bridges. By building waterways, aqueducts, water canals, and water tanks, he realized a gigantic engineering feat to deliver water resources to cities and agricultural lands. Bridges, on the other hand, were built to increase the mobility of the Roman army and expand trade routes. Bridges in the Roman Empire are considered one of the greatest achievements of Roman architecture and engineering. Roman bridges were usually built on natural rocks and were built using blocks of stone placed on top of each other. Roman bridges are also famous for the use of arches. These arches have increased the durability of stone blocks and made bridges more robust. Waterways, aqueducts, water channels, and water tanks are engineering structures of the Roman Empire that were used to irrigate agricultural lands and meet the water needs of cities. Roman waterways enabled water to be delivered to cities and agricultural lands using gravity. Aqueducts were used to transport water, exceeding the height difference. Water channels allowed water to be transported over long distances. Water tanks, on the other hand, have provided water storage and increased the availability of water in times of scarcity. As a result, The bridges, waterways, aqueducts, water canals, and water tanks of the Roman Empire are one of the most important achievements of Roman architecture and engineering. Roman bridges are famous for the placement of stone blocks on top of each other and the use of arches. Waterways, aqueducts, water channels, and water tanks are engineering structures used for irrigation of agricultural lands of the Roman Empire and to meet the water needs of cities. We will talk about the forums, memorial arches, triumphal arches, monumental tombs, and other monumental structures in the Roman Empire. The forums were the most important public squares of the Roman Empire. These forums, along with the monumental buildings and sculptures around them, served as the cultural and political centers of the Roman Empire. Among the most famous forums in the Roman Empire are the Roman Forum, the Trajan Forum, and the Augustus Forum. December. Memorial arches, triumphal arches, and mausoleums stand out as structures built to commemorate the military victories and important leaders of the Roman Empire. These structures are mostly made of stone material and have a high artistic value. Among the most famous monumental buildings in the Roman Empire are the Trajan's Column, the Arches of Constantine, and the Castel Sant'Angelo. December. In addition, other monumental structures in the Roman Empire include an aqueduct, sarcophagi, temples, and other religious structures. December. These buildings are an indicator of the architectural and artistic richness of the Roman Empire. As a result, forums, memorial arches, triumphal arches, mausoleums, and other monumental structures in the Roman Empire were built to preserve the memory of the political, cultural, and military victories of the Roman Empire. These buildings form an important part of the architectural and artistic heritage of the Roman Empire. We will consider the subject of art and architecture of the Roman Empire. In this video, we will talk about the architecture and decorations of churches and basilicas in the Roman Empire. During the early Christian period, churches and basilicas were built in the Roman Empire. Basilicas are large churches that have side aisles located on either side of a long and wide central aisle. The word basilica was a term used in ancient Rome to refer to the halls of law where justice was distributed. Christians began to use this architectural style in their religion. Many Roman basilicas had a large central aisle, called naves. This corridor was supported by columns located on the sides. These columns are usually arranged in a double row and have composite or Corinthian column capitals, which are often used in Roman architecture. The decorations of the early Christian churches were usually quite simple. There were no paintings and sculptures in these churches. However, in later periods, Christians began to use mosaics to decorate churches. Mosaics often cover the ceiling of the central corridor and depict religious scenes or figures. In some churches, frescoes can also be found on the walls of the central aisle. Among some famous churches in the Roman Empire, saint in Rome is December. The Basilica of St. Peter, the Basilica of San Vitale in Ravenna, and the Hagia Sophia in Istanbul can be counted. Saint Basilica of St. Peter, 16. It has been decorated by famous artists such as Michelangelo, Bernini, and Maderno in the century. The Basilica of San Vitale is famous for its Byzantine-style mosaics. Hagia Sophia, on the other hand, is one of the most famous churches of the Roman Empire and attracts attention especially with its dome and mosaics. This was a summary about the architecture and decorations of churches and basilicas in the Roman Empire. I will give information about the architecture of villas, residences, and townhouses in the Roman Empire. Rich and wealthy people in the Roman Empire often built luxurious villas. These villas were usually located in rural areas and had spacious gardens, pools, and terraces. The architecture of the villas was usually symmetrical and orderly, and there were many rooms in it. One of the most important features of the villas was the inner courtyards. These courtyards were often outdoors and with open ceilings. Houses in the Roman Empire were usually made of materials such as stone and brick. These residences were usually built in a multi-story and crowded way. The front facades of the houses opened towards the street and were usually connected with shops. One of the most important features of the residences was the central heating systems. These systems heated the houses thanks to wood and coals burned in January under the houses. The architecture of houses in Roman cities was usually made narrow and long. These houses had shops and workshops on the ground floor and areas such as living areas and bedrooms on the upper floors. One of the most important features of houses in Roman cities was their decorations. Various works of art such as frescoes, mosaics, and marble sculptures were used in the houses. As a result, while the architecture of villas, residences, and townhouses in the Roman Empire shows quite a variety, each attracts attention with its own special features. These structures constitute an important part of the architectural heritage of the Roman Empire. Under the title Art and Politics, the political and social functions of art in the Roman Empire, I will give information about the political and social functions of art in the Roman Empire, imperial propaganda, and the use of art under state control. The Roman Empire attached great importance to the political and social functions of art. Art was used to show the power and wealth of the empire in society. Therefore, the powerful leaders of the empire supported art and used it for their own purposes. For imperial propaganda, emperors used art to place themselves in a divine position. Therefore, in their sculptures and other works of art, emperors are depicted in a godly position. This was used to convey the message that in the eyes of the people, the emperor was a strong leader and received the approval of the gods. The state-controlled use of art was made to increase the power and authority of the empire. For example, in the construction of imperial buildings and monuments, large budgets were spent to demonstrate the power of the empire. These buildings reflected the wealth and power of the empire. However, imperial propaganda and the state-controlled use of art did not affect the entire Roman society. Different cultures and communities existed in the Roman Empire, and these communities also had their own artistic and cultural heritage. As a result, the political and social functions of art, imperial propaganda, and the use of art under state control were of great importance in the Roman Empire. For this reason, Roman art was home to many magnificent works that reflected the power and wealth of the empire.